Okay, so hello and welcome back to another Unity tutorial. In this video, it's not actually going to be in Unity. We're going to use Unity as an example, but this can be used for actually any coding project you like. GitHub, if you didn't know already, is a way to version control your projects, which has many uses. I'm going to list a few of those, but there's going to be plenty more uses than I'm going to say. The main uses are: one, if you're about to make a change on your project and you're worried it's going to break everything, it's a way to back up your project, so it's really easy to go back to older versions. Another reason is it's easy to share your code. So for example, if you're working on a team, it's really easy for you to essentially push, which I'm going to get into what that means. You can push your changes and a teammate can pull your changes, which is the same as uploading and downloading essentially. And then you can write notes of each of those changes, so you can see who on your team did what change, and you can actually look at the exact changes they made. It's all documented, it's all saved. We're going to be using GitHub, the website. You don't actually need to use GitHub to use Git. It's a completely separate thing, but we're not going to get too technical. We're just going to show you GitHub, which you've probably heard before. If you haven't, I use GitHub, and pretty much anyone does that's in the field. And I'm going to show you how you can use my projects in GitHub and how to set up your own. So let's get into that now. But of course, before we start, I've got to thank my patrons, with special thanks to Flow State Games, Average Morning, Art Farrell, Buddha Ray, Remy Baldwin, and Phil Baum. If anyone else is able to help support the channel monetarily, the link is down below. There are also links down below to my Twitter, Twitch, Discord, and other social media, so it'd be greatly appreciated if you could check those out. But apart from that, let's get to the video now. Okay, so I'll leave some links down below to the things I'm going to mention throughout this video. It shouldn't be too hard to Google search, but I know people love having the links in the description. So here's GitHub. And GitHub will look different if you haven't been logged in, because this is kind of my landing page, I guess. It says people have started following you, and here's some recommended repos to, check out or whatever. But in reality, what you want to do is you want to go make an account. I'm not going to help you with that, just sign in with your Google or whatever. I'm sure you guys can handle that if you're computer scientists. You can make an account on a website. And then here's your homepage, which won't look like this necessarily. It'll look like this, but probably emptier. So here you can see obviously your profile, so all that stuff, whatever. Then you've got Overview, which is this page, so you can see some of your repositories, days, and essentially how many contributions you made on those days. So I guess if someone's looking at your repository as an outsider, they can see how active you are and how productive you are and so on and so forth. And then here you can see some activities, so like what you did on what day, how many commits to what repositories and so on and so forth. But anyway, here we've got repositories, which is the main thing. I've never actually used projects. Stars is just likes. So for example, if you go and like someone else's repository, it shows up all your starred repositories. Followers, all the people following you, and people you're following. And following is just a way to, be notified when people update their stuff, or just be able to easily get to their page when you want to see what they're doing. But here is the real meat of it. So here are repositories. So they're essentially, I know that's called projects. These are real projects, So if you make a new Unity game, as you can see here, I've done it in C# for some of that. I've done a Python thing there. I've got C++ thing there, messing around with Unreal Engine and whatever. So what you do is you essentially make your projects, you put them on here, and people can go to your profile and look through your repositories, and they can click on them. So for example, if you guys have been following along with my RPG series, you click on it, you can see little bits of data like how much of it's C# and what other languages. It seems like I've barely coded anything because it's only 33% C#, but that's because some of the add-ons like TextMesh Pro uses a lot of the files, I guess. Because the Unity source code, like the engine, it doesn't get included into this. Basically, when you're pushing your project, you only push the files you want to, and I'm going to explain that in a minute when we make a test project. But you can see here I've got the code, and you can look into it just like the normal file structure: assets, scripts, and inside scripts you can go to NPCs, and you can see when this file was last updated, 4 days ago. Here it is, NPC, boom, here's the code. And you can, go copy that, go to the raw version of it. I didn't click on the right button there, but the point is, all the code's here, and it's easy for you to essentially share it with other people, or you go to other people's, like if you guys want to come and, follow along with my projects, you can see all the code currently. And if you, for example, wanted to go check out, let's say you're behind in the videos, you want to go check out video 3, but you're up to video 8, what you can actually do is you can go to the repository, so go back to it when it loads. I don't know why it's taken so long. Anyway, RPG systems, and if you click on commits, we have 11 commits, and as you can see, when it loads in a second, you can see all the names of them. I don't know why it's being so slow today. It usually isn't. I don't know if this is my internet acting up or whatever. Maybe I've got something open, but regardless, when you click on commits in a second, it's going to open up and show you a list of all the commits you've done and what you've named them and when they were and all this data on them. So here it is. You can see obviously I started it 25 days ago, and then on the first day I did this, second video, third video. So you can see all these different videos, commits, and when they are. And if, for example, you want to go see the state of the code after video 3, you can just click on this end of video 3, whatever, and then you can press press code, and then here you are. No, I've clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry, commits, and then if you go to, was it number 3, click the little bit on the end, it says browse in this thing. Here you go, you see the code back in this date, right? So if I go back to assets and go to scripts now, you can see the code from back then there's a lot less of it, and it was updated a lot longer ago. So you can actually follow along in any of the videos, even if you're joining on really late. You don't have to just like copy it at the point I'm up to. You can go back to my older versions. So it's very useful for that, obviously. As a content creator, it's very useful. But even if you're just working on your own projects, it's also very useful. So I'm going to show you how to basically create your own project and set that up with Unity. Okay, so to create a new repository, just go to your homepage, or you can even go to repositories, and there'll be like a green button here to do it. Or you can just press the plus button up here, but new repository. Give it a name. So for example, you know, how to use GitHub or something. Now, if you put spaces in, it'll put dashes in for you because you're not allowed spaces, so it doesn't really matter. Just do spaces if you want, and it'll sort it out for you. Description is just a really short description of what it's about, so I'm just going to put like repo, which is short for repository. Repo for teaching you guys how to use GitHub, right? Public or private, so you have to pay to use private as far as I'm aware. You have to have GitHub membership, which is $7 a month. I think now they might be changing it so you have like a certain amount of private repositories for free, and then you have to pay past that. We currently have the membership because it gives you some more extra benefits. But regardless, you're probably going to want to choose public, and most of my projects are public anyway. So just choose public. Obviously, anyone can see it, and you can choose who to commit. So basically, if you want to work on it with friends, it's not like any stranger can come up to it and just start giving you changes. You can actually like suggest changes, I guess. They can look at your code, download it, make changes, and say, hey, you know, here, I fixed this bug in your code, and then you can be like, oh, thanks, and pull it. But you know, most of the time, the people aren't just going to be coming to your random projects and looking through it for bugs. Maybe in big pieces of software that are open source. But for your own personal Unity project, you know, public's fine. If you're making an actual commercial game to publish and you're worried about people stealing the code, but you still want to use GitHub, then obviously you might have to pay private per month, but public will be fine for pretty much everyone. A README is just going to be a text file, a markdown file, which lets you like stylize it easier, and it just displays it on the homepage of your repository, so you can add like pictures to it, you can add hyperlinks, you know, you can add whatever you want to it so that people can get a bit more description about your project. Usually bigger projects have like huge bits of like, you know, this is where we research this, and these are the libraries we use, and this is why we do this. You know, usually a big description on it is your README. You can edit that later. License is, you know, I don't know what half of these mean. The 3 main ones are what people use, and you can actually read about them here for what they are. Now, for what I use, just, you know, here's my code, do whatever you want with it. It's a tutorial, you know, whatever. I just use the MIT license. If you don't want anyone stealing your stuff, legally, you should probably be using the non, because no license means you've not given like legal, you know, backing for them to do it. So even if people, there's nothing stopping them copy and pasting apart from their own morality, and, you know, they might be worried they're going to get in trouble if they publish something and, you know, they've copied your code. But if you've got really generic code, like some random move script that you found on YouTube, and then like they use that, I mean, what are you going to do about it? You know, they probably just found it off YouTube too. So you're not going to know unless it's very specific code. But for most things, MIT licenses are good. It just means, hey guys, I've worked on this. You can do whatever you want with it too. Let's make, you know, good code together. It's kind of for the people, I guess. And then add a .gitignore. There's tons of pre-made ones. You can customize it how you want. This is a way to select which files you don't want to publish. So for example, you might want to use GitHub just for publishing your Unity game's code and maybe some other settings and stuff, but you don't want to publish like your models and assets and stuff, because 1, you might not want people to have them, and 2, you might store those separately. And you can also ignore, for example, packages, so that when you download, for example, TextMesh Pro and you know, other commonly used things like Cinemachine, you don't want to publish them to here because it'll take longer. It leaves up more of your limited storage space on here. And anyone that's using your project when they install it, Unity will basically see, oh, you need Cinemachine, but you're missing it, so we'll install it for you. So anything like that's handled anyway. Now, we can add a Unity git ignore or none. So I'm going to go with none and add it in manually later. So let's press create. And then when it's done, here we are on our thing. Now, this README is directly linked to this front page thing. So that's what it looks like. We've got bold title thing. And if we go to edit raw, you'll see that's used by hashtag that, and then it makes it bold and whatever at the top. And you can add more. There's more markdown stuff. Go look up, markdown syntax or whatever. I'm just going to leave that as it is. I'm happy with that. So that's it. And then the license is here. It's done by default, MIT license, copyright, blah. Permission is granted. Yeah, read it all. It's up to you. But now we want to actually use our project properly, because currently there's nothing here, right? It's just kind of blank. So we're going to want to use either, you can use the command line, which I'm not experienced with enough to teach you guys. So I'm going to use just a desktop client, which most people use. I mean, I say most, that's probably not true. Maybe. I think if you're getting into it, it's definitely best to use this so you don't struggle and type the wrong thing and mess everything up. It's much simpler just to do it with a interface. So you can get the actual official GitHub client, which I don't think you can get. You have to search it properly on Google for like the GitHub desktop or something. But I personally don't use this, even though you can, there's no problem. It'll be very similar to the one that I'm going to show you how to use. So just feel free to use this one if you want, but I'd recommend following along with mine. So use source tree, right? Source tree, I'm going to link to below as well, is just another user interface for GitHub. And you can download it and log in and set it up. It's up to you to do the whole login process. You guys are smart enough to do that, I'm sure. But once you've done that, you're going to be met with this. You need to obviously sign in and authenticate. All that stuff is up to you. And then once you've got there, you'll have this. You'll have a tab, local remote clone add create. And on local, this should be empty because you presumably don't have any yet because you've just started. And then remote, you should have one. So remote is going to show you all of your repositories on GitHub. So we have this new one, how to use GitHub, and you see on here, if I go to H, how to use GitHub, it's here. So currently this project is just online, it's not on my computer, right? So what I want to do is I want to clone it. So cloning is essentially downloading it and like linking it to GitHub, right? So leave the URL, that's done for you. This is the location on your computer where you want to put the project. So I'd say go to my E drive, Unity Games, and then make a folder. And call the folder, for example, how to use GitHub. Obviously, I'm going to get rid of this after the video. So I'm going to say select folder, that's where I want to put it, and clone. And that'll take a second. And then now, if you actually go to your computer and look in the E drive, and go to Unreal Engine, no, sorry, wrong one, Unity Games, how to use GitHub, we have the license and the README, which is just linked with the website. There you go. So now I'm actually linked here. And if I was to change the README to say, like, hey, look, I changed this, or something, right? Save, go back. It knows about the change, and then it says, here's what we've added. We added a new line and this text. Now, if I want to say, all right, I've done some changes to my project, and now I want to let everyone know, because currently this is just changed on my PC. I want to change it online and everyone else in my team. So I'm going to say stage all. So those are all the stage files. Maybe you want to stage some files and not others, so you would just click stage selected and select some. But otherwise, then down here you write your commit message. So I'm just going to say like changed or like updated readme, right? Updated readme. So I'm going to say commit. Now those changes are now saved on my computer, right? Like that's saved as a commit, all those changes. But I want to push them to be online rather than just locally saved. So I'm going to say push and make sure master's checked. And push. And then now if we go up here, we see obviously it's 3 minutes ago. If I refresh again, now that might be done. There we go, 24 seconds ago, README was updated. Keep in mind the time it says it was done is when the commit was done, not when the push was done, because the commit is technically the change. And here it is, hey look, I changed this, right? So now we can easily just make changes to our Unity project or input a Unity project and push it to GitHub, right? So I'm going to go to Unity, create new. I'm just going to call this like example. And we're going to go to Unity Games and we're going to go to how to use GitHub, select folder, create. And then now Unity's going to obviously start creating a project in here. So I'm going to skip forward until it's done. I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, so Unity's open, and here on source tree we can see all the changes. But we don't want all of these library packages there and metadata stuff. It's pointless. We only really want the stuff we've done, like assets and scenes and stuff, and code. So let's make a folder, for example. We're going to make the folder called scripts like normal. And then we'll make inside scripts a new C# script. and I'm just going to leave it blank. And I'm not actually going to, code anything because I don't want to bother opening up Visual Studio and setting all that up. Just here's some code in the scripts folder, right? Unity's done. If we go back here, you can actually see it in here if we go down to scripts. If we went down and found scripts, and obviously we could, I could show you that. And what will make it easier to find the stuff in here would be getting rid of all the junk. So what we actually want to do, here it is by the way, void start update, mono baby, there's your code. We want to ignore all those other files that we don't need. So I'm going to say, go online and go to a Unity git ignore, like so. Here's the Unity git ignore. It's telling you, for example, ignore all things that end in like the file extension of .sln, .suo, .tmp, so get rid of temp files and all these other things we don't need. Just don't even bother questioning it, to be honest. This is the stuff like loads of people use for the git ignore. So we're going to copy that, go back to our repo and just say create a new file, paste all that in and call it like .git ignore. And even then you can choose one from here, right? So you can say Unity and you can just select that or whatever, right? It's up to you. Once you're done, create .git ignore, commit directly to master branch, commit. And then here we are, we have our .git ignore. So if we, before we push, we can pull, right? So pulling is downloading, pushing is uploading essentially. So we want to pull the changes, which would be that git ignore change, which then by doing that actually will now ignore all those files we don't want anymore. And you can see here's just a few files now. So some project settings, your settings on different things. They're fine to have. It makes sense to have your settings. When people download your project, they want your settings. And your scene, for example, and your scripts. So you click stage all. And then I'd be like, started project commit. That's now pushed. That's now saved on my local machine. Push is now on GitHub. And if we wait a second and let that do its thing, and go back and refresh GitHub, now everyone can see we've added our stuff. So we can go to our project, assets, scripts, new behavior script. There it is. There's our code. And obviously as we update it, we just press stage all, commit, push, and so on. If you get any type of files that you don't want, let's say you have a folder that you don't want to put onto git ignore, right? That you don't want to put onto GitHub, for example. You just have to go to the bottom or anywhere really, and you can just do assets / and then like what you want to ignore, the file path, right, from assets. Or it's the file path from where this git ignore is, right? That's how it checks it. So for example, actually there's no example. Oh yeah, so assets store tools is what it doesn't is what it ignores currently. But there's also, you can add whatever you want. So if you get plugins, you can do assets / plugins, and it ignores all plugins to push to the GitHub repo. So that was it for this video. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask below, and I'm sure people help you out, and I'll try and help you out too. Or go ask in the server. I'm sure a lot of people use GitHub. There are plenty more things you can do with it, but this was just a beginner tutorial showing you how to set it up for your Unity project and how to use it, effectively. Also, yeah, if you just like lost your project, right? If I close Unity and deleted the how to use GitHub, Git itself is going to have a problem with that. But if we went to recycle it, if we now go to remote, and you can see your how to use GitHub, and you clone it and you put it back on your file back in the Unity games or whatever, it'll then just put the whole project back. So it's essentially saved its cloud storage on here. That's what it's doing. So yep, that's pretty much it, to be honest. I don't think there's anything else to say for this video, just for a beginner intro. If you want to delete a repository, you go to settings on your repository and scroll down, delete, and then you type in the name of it. So I'm just going to copy and paste and then press I understand, and then log in and do your password, and then it's gone now. Okay, so yep, that's it. If you have any more questions, I said leave them down below. Feel free to leave a like and subscription. It would mean a lot. Check out my streams. What else to check out? All the stuff I need to say. Everything's down below anyway, guys. I know you'll check it out if you want to, and you won't if you don't want to. So thanks for watching anyway. See you next time, and goodbye.